Hey guys, what is up? Array Mage here, doing another World of Tanks 360 beta commentary. This is Standard Battle on Cliff. Today, guys, I'm going to go ahead and talk about something I've seen talked about on the forums. I've seen it talked about in game chat a couple of times while playing, and it's been coming up a lot lately, and I don't know if it's just because these guys might be new to the beta, they may not understand the matchmaking, so I figured I'd take this commentary and explain how the matchmaking works in the World of Tanks beta. I'm not too sure how it works in the PC, but this is how it works in the beta, and I'll give some tips, maybe to help out guys that, find themselves in these kind of matches often. What I see people complain about the most is how the matchmaking can sometimes be very unfair and put guys in matches that are in which they're not top tier, or when they're facing tanks that are 2 or 3 tiers above them. And that is not exactly all that unheard of. The way the matchmaking works, and this is a general rule of thumb, and this is how I understood it, or how I had it explained to me, and I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, by all means call me out on it, and I'll correct it in the next commentary. But as I understood it, it's 2 up, 2 down. So if you are tier 8, here I am in a Panther 2, and I'm going up against tier 9s, this is pretty typical. They're only 1 tier above me. That's pretty normal. And on occasion, you may get into tier 10 matches if you are a tier 8. It happens. I've certainly had it happen the other day when I was in my Pershing, and that's a tier 8 American medium tank, and that was not all that surprising to me. And the other thing you have to consider also with this 2 up, 2 down thing is you're probably going to have the whole 1 tier above you thing happen more often, at least, because there simply isn't a whole lot of people in the beta. So the matchmaking can't exactly be catered to you, so you have to kind of understand that you're bound to be possibly bottom tier, and on occasion you may get you may be unfortunate enough to be in a tier 10 match. It happens. Another thing to consider, and this is probably part of the problem, and some people may not even realize it, that if you are platooned up with somebody that is in they're in a different tier tank, and it happens to be the highest tier tank in the platoon, it's not a matching platoon, meaning all 3 tanks are not, or all 3 vehicles are not of the same platoon, that can screw it up, the matchmaking at least, in the sense that, let's say I'm in an M48 Patton, that's a tier 10 American medium tank, and let's say my buddy is in a T29, and my other friend is in a similar tier 7 tank. The tier 7s are not going to get matchmaking for them. The matchmaking, way it works right now, and this is where wargaming really needs to fix things, because I've seen some screwed up matchmaking, even when it's fair, but we'll go ahead and continue with this little train of thought here. Since I'm a tier 10, the game looks at me and says, okay, you're a tier 10, you're priority, and the matchmaker looks at it in the sense that that tier 10 is a tier 10 tank, and it doesn't pay any mind to the 2 tier 7. It just knows it needs to find 3 slots in a tier 10 game, and those 2 tier 7s get dragged into a match where they really are outgunned. And I've seen a few guys in tier 6s, and God help them, but a few guys in tier 4. Now, I can only think of a few things on why these guys got there. One, they got into there either because they're in a troll platoon, they're intentionally going there to be dicks, and they probably have a teammate that's in a tier 9 or a tier 10 tank, and they intentionally, are going in there just trying to, I guess, loot. Some guys just go in there, I think, just to be asses. And sometimes, and this is probably a very good possibility, they honestly don't know how the matchmaking works, and they probably thought, well, maybe, my buddy here in the tier 9 will get lucky and he gets to face tier 4s and he can guard me since I don't know what I'm doing. In reality, the matchmaking is going to look and say, okay, I got a tier 9, it's going to ignore the M3 Lee and the other lower tier tank, and it's going to do matchmaking for that higher tier vehicle. Another thing to consider, guys, is light tanks. Scout tanks have much different matchmaking than medium or heavy tanks, and even tank destroyers. Artie, I believe, has different matchmaking, but I'm not too sure on it. But I know for light tanks or scout tanks, it can go 5 up and 5 down, and that's how the matchmaking works. in this game, at least for the most part. It can get goofy, and you just have to be careful when you're platooned up. So if you have, you know, friends that are being, I guess, bastards, and they're taking advantage of you, and you're in a lower tier vehicle and they're in a high tier vehicle, they're I don't know, maybe they're not intentionally doing it, but they are not doing you any favors by being in a tier 9 or 10 vehicle and you being in a tier 7 or 6 vehicle. They're not doing you any favors. If anything, they're dragging you out. They're setting you up for disaster, because you're going to consistently face those guys that are just top-notch, and you're going to have better vehicles going up against you. Some tips, and this is very short and very simple. If you are in a match where somebody's 1 or 2 tiers above you, if you're unlucky enough, this is how you got to play them. You have to play smart. You have to remember you are not top dog. You just have to accept that. You know where the choke points are in the maps by now. If you are playing at tier A, I would assume you know where the choke points are, and you got to play smart. You know where the big guys are going to go. You know where those M103s, those E75s, and E100s, you know where those big nasties are going. You know where they're going to most likely be. You cannot rush out there. I don't care if you are the fastest tank on your team. It doesn't do your team any favors when, you know, you being the fastest tank, you get there and you don't have the gun and you don't have the armor to do anything. Now, if you want to get there, get a quick spot, back down, and wait for your team to come and help you, that's cool, that's fine. But don't go in there trying to sling lead with tanks that are far superior to your own. Remember, you are a support tank, and you've seen here in this gameplay, I actually, at some point, I decide, you know what, I can't fight these E75s, I can't fight some of these fights. You know, these are the fights where the M103s and the E75s on my team are going to have to fight them, and I'm just there for support. I'm getting a few pop shots in, and I'm just adding to the damage. You can never bite off more than you can chew. Just, you know, take your chances, and remember, and this is another thing, you have to look at this from a different perspective. It's a money-making opportunity. You will actually gain more silver for inflicting damage as a low-tier tank onto a high-tier tank. So if you get damage on a higher-tier tank than you, that's some big money. You have to look at it as a money-making opportunity. And another thing, and I'm using my Panther 2 here as an example, I know it's far less expensive to repair and restock a Panther 2 than it is to repair and restock an E75. So I am not afraid to pick a fight with an E75. If I can get my shots on an E75, I'll take it. He kills me, so be it. I don't lose nowhere near the money that I would if I was in a tier 9 or 10, so I'm willing to take a chance. Alright guys, this gameplay is coming to an end, so quick channel update. I am going to be doing an M46 patent review. That is going to be coming up. I'll probably do another one of these gameplay comms real shortly. Anyways guys, I'll catch you later. Peace out.